Welcome to the BetterHalf show. My name is Godman Akinlabi, PG to my friends. As someone who has counseled couples over the years, I often hear people say things like, if only he would change, or if only she would change. And the issue of changing your spouse is a major one for many people. The big question is, can you really change your spouse? Don't go away. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. We are discussing changing your spouse. And with me for this discussion, I have Joy and Samson Issa. Welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
All right. How long have you been married?
We've been married for over 18 years.
Okay, over 18 years. Wow, you guys are becoming veterans.
It would seem so.
Yeah. All right. Joy, was Samson your type when when he started to, you know?
Was he my type? Well, truth be told, I didn't really have a type in my head, so he was okay. It sort of worked. I mean, 18 years, hey, so yeah. He was okay.
So, what was it about her that you really liked, that, you know, drew you closer?
Joy, very interesting lady, right? When I met her, she wasn't the kind of lady that I would say, wow. But when I visited with her, I went to her school to see her, she was very pleasant. Again, she was well-spoken. She was very kind. And that really touched my heart. And I said, well, let me give it a shot.
How nice.
All right. Okay, Joy. Were there things from the get-go that you actually felt you could change about him, even while you were dating, that you wished you could change?
There were a few things, but the one I remember particularly, no offense, his English.
Okay.
Now, English is my first language, and we're kind of fussy about English, you know, in my family.
Yeah.
And so some of his expressions were interesting. Let's put it that way. So, I was conscious of that. And one thing in particular, I remember when just having a conversation, I said, oh, no, you remember, you know, like in Sound of Music, and it was like Sound of Music, and I thought, what? This is not going to work. So, and he was very nice about it. He was very open. It's like, what? I went to night school. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And so, because he's from the north, I'm from Edo State, so there was a bit of a difference there. And he indulged me. He watched all the Disney shows because I went out and I got all the classics,
So
Beauty and the Beast and everything.
Part of strategy to just bring him up to speed in that area?
Well,
like kind of
yes,
changing the beat in that area.
exactly. Like, you know, and I said, you know, I can't be having conversations with my children and you don't know what to say. It can't work. So, you know, and he was open to it. At first, initially, he felt like, look, I'm a manager, you know, DHL then. Why would you say? And I remember one of your bosses, you know, talking about it. Are you speaking Nigerian or are you speaking English?
I mean,
and I would be like,
I think Joy, English is my fourth language.
Wow.
Apart from Hausa, my first language, my native language, and I speak Fulani too. So,
wow.
So my diction was faulty, and my wife was perfectly right. But I was humble enough to accept those corrections, knowing very well that she was well-spoken, right? And there were things about her, we were culturally different. I'm from the north, and she's from the south, though she grew up in the north, right, with the southern parents, right? So I had those challenges. How does she engage my people, my kind of people, right? And that was an issue for me, right? But with time, we were able to overcome that.
Well, how really was it an issue for you? Can you give us any example that you can remember?
Joy, being a typical Southerner, right? Ladies can just engage you and stretch their hands to greet you. I mean, it's a normal British etiquette, you know, for a lady to stretch her hand first before man. But in the North, you want the man. Ladies don't shake men hands, right? So for me, I
heard they don't even speak except the man speaks to them. You're not supposed to engage.
Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to be outspoken when men are speaking.
Yes. You're considered forward.
Yeah.
If you're
so
outspoken
I felt that Joe was very forward, right? But then it's all about perspective. I mean, there's my culture, right? To her, it was very irritating. Why can't she just express herself? Why can't she just shake someone's hand? What's the big deal about it, right? For me, it was a big deal, right?
So did you subconsciously think you could change her after or
not
subconsciously planning to change her after marriage?
Not subconsciously.
Really?
I think
deliberately.
I think to be very honest, a lot of things have to do with our temperament, right? I think I am a choleric with a sanguine background, right? So I have that propensity to want to force things upon people. As civil as I could be, I still have that tendency to do that, right? So I wanted her to change immediately, but I have been married her for over 18 years now, and I realized that it's impossible.
What was her first reaction those days when you were pushing the boundaries? What were the reactions you got?
I must give credit to Joy. Joy is a very calm person. My wife, she's not easily ruffled. So she could be irritated, right? But she wasn't outspoken. She was very respectful about it, right? I think she was empathetic about the whole situation. So I'm very lucky, right, that she behaved that way. You could imagine if she had reacted the way I wanted, or she was also very probably erratic. That would have been terrible. I'm choleric by my temperament, and then she reacts that way. You know, that would have been very, very bad. But she was very calm.
How did you cope with, all that pushing and shoving and trying to get you into...
Interestingly, I'm also choleric.
Okay.
So, but I'm more melancholy. So, like you said...
So you're a little more reserved.
So I'll just be quiet.
Yeah.
And like I would say, I'd be quiet because I think I have a way with words. So sometimes when, we're having this heated conversation about, but you should, you shouldn't, you did, you didn't. And he really wanted me to express myself, be free, talk. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you do not want to hear what I have to say. We will not be married for too long. So I had to be deliberate about watching what I said because I understood the effects of the words I would say. And eventually, he kind of understood that, okay, I'm watching my words, that's why I'm not talking so much.
Yeah.
And then I learned to, talk a bit more, have a sense of humor. I'm sarcastic, yes. I'll say things with a straight face, things like that. But yes, like you said, I had to be strong in terms of self-control and self-management, to manage myself and not to be, to understand his perspective and to understand that I married someone from the North.
Yeah.
At least nobody forced me to marry him, thankfully.
So you had to cope with that.
Exactly, it was my choice.
You had to cope with your sarcasm and
exactly, and he'll be like,
faces
you shouldn't be teaching comedy. Well, I might not make so much money, so hey.
All right, we're going to take a break now.
Okay.
When we come back, this discussion is going to get really much more interesting. So don't go away. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on the show. We have been discussing changing your spouse, and it's been getting, here and there, very interesting, I must say. Now, let's get to the crux of the matter. Okay. Can you really change your spouse? Engaging influence, force, manipulation, all kinds of trickery, is it really possible to change your spouse?
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay,
Ladies
I'll go
first.
first. Ladies first, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that people choose to change depending on the situation they find themselves in. I don't think you can really force someone to change, because regardless of what you're trying to say or the change you're trying to implement, if the person doesn't really believe in it, I mean, they could pretend while you're around and then get up, do whatever they want when you're not there.
Yeah.
So in terms
just
of,
like you can't, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't.
well, you can't, absolutely. Yeah. So changing, for instance, changing people's appetites. He likes kunungeda. It's like a groundnut soup. Okay. And I remember the first time the second time I think, I went over to my in-laws to visit. When I took a spoon and I went, and I tried the second and the third. Immediately my mother-in-law left. I thought, please, can you throw this away? I can't eat anymore. So some things you can't really change.
Yeah.
I mean, soup is not a big deal, okay? It's not a deal breaker, so eat this, eat that. But when it comes to, like we said earlier, things like hugging someone, and like I say, his eyes turn green and he's like, don't touch him, because I hug someone and I'm like, okay, I won't hug your friends. And, in fact, the first time this
really
happened.
You don't like hugging people?
Not really. Well, this is over 18 years, I mean, can you change your spouse? Having been married for over 18 years, I would say no, you can't change your spouse. You can influence your spouse, but really and truly, you can't change someone.
Can you speak more to that bit of influence?
Yes, I think for us as husbands especially, I mean, everyone, but the wife too, you just have to live an exemplary life. I think that positive influence would make a major impact in an attempt to change your spouse, right? Also, being vulnerable. If you're vulnerable and your spouse sees that you are not the perfect man, right? Your spouse will be open, right? The moment spouses are not vulnerable, then there are no rooms for changes. Okay. Because then you live in silos. You are cohabiting actually, but not really married, right?
Yeah.
So except you let off your guard,
thank you
really
very
can
much. Thank you, PG.
somebody.
Except you let off your guard, and you're also willing to accept criticism. You're willing to apologize, right? It will be very difficult for you to change.
Yeah.
One of the things, just to add to that, one of the things that was a challenge for me when we first got married was accepting criticism, from him, because he would say, no, I'm just telling you, what you can do differently and do better. And I would say, but the way you said it, I feel like this small, so I'm not willing to listen. So now I didn't say that directly. I would say, the way you tell all these people that they didn't do this well, meanwhile I was talking about myself, and he, understood that you cannot deliver a message in a negative way, because then the message is lost.
That's right.
So he sort of adjusted that a little bit, and I became more open.
Yeah.
Because he would say, you're not talking to me. And I'm like, no, but I said things, So that's why I say change. Can you really change? Because then people put up airs, and they're not as open as they should be.
Yeah.
I think I was really very, very, very cynical, because I like to...
I like these confessions, by the way.
Cynicism.
Bring it on.
Right? Very good.
I like to blame things.
Yeah.
I wasn't very constructive in my criticism. I didn't tell her, I wish you could behave like that. So the way I went about doing what I was doing, I was literally blaming her for everything.
Yeah.
Whereas it takes two to tango, right? Yeah. So I'm not very sure you will see much changes when you're very critical, right? And you don't even give credit. You're not nice about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So continuing to be critical and criticize all the time is like trying to break the spirit of someone.
That's right.
And what you get is a broken person, really, not a changed person.
Or a person who puts up a Fort Knox wall around themselves and refuses to open up, which is what I was doing. I was just so guarded.
Yeah, again,
guarded, and he would say, "Oh,
Joy,
you're being so defensive," and I'm like,
Joy, again, it took me some time to understand where she was coming from.
Yeah.
Parents were very busy. Parents, right? Parents did not spend time telling their daughter, affirming, encouraging her, right? And so Joy came into the marriage a person that's already very defensive, right?
Exactly.
Because there wasn't anybody there to so much to speak, you know, to
encourage and
to
motivate.
build.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
So it took me some time to realize that. So it's important.
Like, you're talking about taking you some time. Like, how long would you say that it took you before you started really understanding some of these things?
I think
just to help some of those young couples listening to us.
Over 5 to 7 years, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Because my natural default nature is to criticize, right? And I realized that, and then Joy would tell me sometimes when I'm talking with people, right? And she would say, "But why were you speaking to the person that way?" Right? And there was also tension in me. I've been a manager for many years, so I carried my managerial
skills.
I don't work with you.
experience.
I'm the wife.
Into
I'm
marriage,
not in the office.
right?
Yeah.
Now I forgot that I'm talking to my wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be my helpmate.
You're
right?
trying to manage her like a project.
Exactly. I'm like, no.
So that tension was really a major problem for me.
Yes, it was.
And my
really.
my spouse, she really suffered, right? Because again, unconsciously I was destroying her self-esteem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took time for her.
So I now
Right.
You know, so
built up such
for
a...
younger couples, I mean, the issue is they need to be encouraged that
Yes.
it will really take some time.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
need to get to learn, you know, to understand your spouses gradually.
Yeah.
And over time, open up to, you know, to what it would take, and
Oh, yes,
as you
absolutely.
understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
To influence them and then allow them to also influence you. Let down your guards, you know, and become vulnerable. We're going to take a break right now. And when we're back, we're going to take this discussion up to a new level. So don't go away. Just stay with us. We'll be right back.